in terms of international marketing, both exports and imports plays a very prominent role in terms of saying that the firm is indulged in international marketing of the products. So in that case, when we talk in terms of exporting, it can be basically categorized into two important variants. And that first one is the direct exporting, and second one is the indirect exporting. As we can see in the slide, a direct exporting always means that a company sells to a customer, uh, especially in another country. And this is the most common approach, basically, which are employed by most of the companies by taking their international step, because the risk of loss can always be minimized once they have this sort of direct exporting, because many companies will be very reluctant to enter into international marketing because they always have a fear inside their mind that their product is going to be a failure, because since as a manufacturer, if they don't have confidence about their own products, it becomes very difficult for any firm to go and explore the opportunities which are mainly lying in international market. So this sort of mindset basically will get once if you don't have any sort of positive thinking towards your product, because end of the day it is your product and you should have that sort of proud feeling that if it is able to have that success factor in the domestic market, obviously with minimal changes you can easily go and try your luck in the international market, because that is how the companies will try to excel, because without taking any risk no company could able to achieve any sort of what you call as success, especially in the international market. And once we are done with the direct exporting, the other important thing is with respect to indirect exporting. Here, usually it means that the company sells to a buyer in the home country, whom in turn exports the product to the other country. And here, the customer include large retailers such as Walmart or Sears, where wholesale supply houses, trading companies, and other companies that usually buy to supply the products towards the customers who are available in the abroad are basically called as indirect exporting. We are also looking at the other possibilities like licensing, international joint venture, franchising, or wholly or the wholly owned subsidiaries, which are considered as the other important aspects of direct and indirect exporting of products. And apart from that, we should also focus our attention towards international channel of distribution. We are all aware how exactly the distribution process happens, and which basically includes the physical handling and distribution of the goods. Here, the passage of ownership and buying and selling mainly happens through negotiation between the producers and the middleman, and between the middleman and the customers. We all know that only manufacturing of the product is not the end of the road for any of the organization. Along with that, the manufacturer should also take utmost care and priorities with respect to prioritizing the importance of the distribution. We all know that once the product is manufactured and it is ready to be deported from the manufacturing point, that is a situation where your distribution channel function usually gets itself kick-started. So here, distribution plays a very important role to make sure that products are available at the right time, at the right place, to the right set of customers. Because end of the day, you want the timing of your product to be on dot, to make sure that there should not be any sort of waiting period for your products. Because nowadays customers won't wait for your product until and unless if it is of highly quality oriented products. So that makes even more challenging for you to make sure that the product reaches to the end users on time. Basically, in international markets we have different patterns with respect to the channels of distribution, and under that we have four important patterns. First one is the general patterns, retail patterns, home country middleman, as well as foreign country middleman. General patterns basically involves the channel length, the manufacturer, wholesaler, then the retailer. Whereas the retail patterns basically include the manufacturer, then the wholesaler as well as the retailer. And when we come across the home country middleman, we can see the manufacturer and the domestic wholesaler, then the domestic retailer, and the domestic customer. And when we come across the foreign country middleman, we have the manufacturer, the foreign country wholesaler, as well as the retailer, and the end of the link is basically called as the foreign customers or even the international customers. So this is how the pattern will be keep on changing based on how exactly you are going to look into those patterns. And let us see the general patterns in detail. What are the things that are basically involved here? Under general patterns, we see middleman services, then the product line length and the breadth, then the cost and the margin, what the product basically involves, then the channel length, whether it is short or long, then non-existent channels, which are basically considered if at all if it has been required. Then we have something called as a blocked channel, wherein which few of the channel members will be blocked. Then we need to make sure that there is enough stocking point of your products and services. And the next thing is with respect to the power and competition, which is also an important pattern of managing your distribution aspects. And next thing is the retail patterns, mainly acknowledging with respect to the retail size patterns. And after that, we should also look at something like the direct marketing aspects. And apart from that, in most of the cases, the retail always will make its hard efforts regarding resistance to change. And we should always look at something like alternative middleman choices, wherein which it always provides an opportunity for the retailer to make sure that there is an alternative middleman, so that if the regular middleman is not able to discharge his roles and responsibilities accurately, they can always look out for something like the alternative choices. And when we talk in terms of home country middleman, basically we have the manufacturer, the retail stores, then we have something like global retailers, the export management companies, which basically takes care of exporting of the products and services across the borders, and the trade companies, which usually looks at how the trade relations has to be maintained across different companies. And we have the export trading companies, where their key functionality is looking at how exactly exports are taking place. Then we have something called as complementary marketers, who look at marketing their products in some other countries. And we have something like manufacturers, export agents, whom they always look at as a example with respect to setting aside how the export has to take place. And at the last, we have something like home country brokers, who usually look at doing the brokerage between the domestic country along with the international countries. And by looking at all these three display patterns, we can conclude saying that the distribution channel always plays a very important role with respect to whether it is in case of domestic market or whether it is in case of international market. When we look at all these three patterns, that is the general pattern, the retail pattern, as well as the home country middleman, it always poses as a very big challenge for the manufacturer to look at which pattern is ideally suited for their firm as well as their type of product. And this could easily able to see in what way things are going to get itself progress in the future course of time. By looking at all these things, it makes a right choice for the organization to select which pattern of distribution is ideally suited for their organization. And also, while selecting these patterns, it makes a lot of sense that in which country does that um, company is trying to export its products. And apart from that, we should look at even the budget aspect also, which sort of pattern will will fetch the organization to have something called as the cost reduction, because we all know that if the channel length increases, obviously the spending pattern might also vary. So organization will always look at the possibilities or the ways wherein which it can reduce the cost and enhance its effectiveness, especially in case of distribution of products in the international markets.